Good morning, everybody. We're live from the birdhouse. We are into the month of August, and today we're talking about the different types of food that are good for the summer months and what the birds are eating now. If you've been feeding birds in your backyard, you've probably seen there's lots of babies out there, and the birds are definitely hungry. As always, we'd love to know what kind of things you are getting in your backyard, especially if you're still getting things like orioles, if your hummingbirds are around, or if you're not seeing them either, that's always good to know too. Lots of people are getting catbirds coming back to their oriole feeders, so that's pretty fun. And as always, we just want to know what kind of things you're seeing, including monarch butterflies are really common right now usually. So if you've got those in your yard, that is always a good sighting to report. So you can put those in the comments. You can always just say hi in the comments as well. And if you have any questions, you can throw them in there also. But I thought I'd get started showing you guys some different types of seeds that are good for the birds and what they are eating in some pretty big quantities right now. So the thing that we go through the most here at the store is our chickadee blend. And the reason for this is there's really something in here for any kind of bird that's going to come to a bird feeder. So the blend is called chickadee because there's peanuts in there, and the chickadees do love the peanuts. But everything that's in, say, our cardinal blend is also in this chickadee blend. So it's a blend of peanuts and black oil sunflower, striped sunflower, shelled sunflower, or the sunflower hearts, and safflower. So really any bird that's going to come to a feeder to eat some seeds, there's something in there in this blend for them. So this is really good for cardinals. It's great for chickadees, for nuthatches, blue jays, finches. So there's really something in there for everybody. But you'll notice that there are shells on it, and that is something that people don't necessarily want all the time. If you do have shells collecting underneath your feeders, you can always rake them up. And we do have this enzyme called seed and hull digester, which is really good. You can even attach it to your hose, or you can just dilute it a little bit with some water and spray it underneath the feeders. And this helps break down some of those hulls. So if you've got kind of some hulls that are kind of starting to pile up, this is really good for that, and it really works. It's all natural enzymes, and that'll help break down some of that might be underneath your feeder right now. But use a seed or a seed blend or a certain type of seed that doesn't have any shells on it. So that can be really nice. We do have a blend called Neat Treat, and it's called Neat Treat because there are no shells on it. This is a mix of ground up peanuts or peanut hearts, sunflower hearts, and cracked corn. So even if some of it does fall on the ground, something's going to eat it. So that is our Neat Treat blend. So no shells. So really easy as far as cleanup goes. What I use in all of my mixed seed feeders is our woodpecker blend. Now this is a really high-end blend, so it is on the more expensive side of things. But what I like about it is, of course, no shells. And it's got lots of the peanuts in there, the peanut pickouts. It has the sunflower hearts in there. It even has some fruit, some pumpkin seeds. So just like how our chickadee blend had something for just about any kind of bird that's going to come to a feeder, so does this woodpecker blend. The real key in both of those are going to be the sunflower hearts and the peanut pickouts, because most birds will eat sunflower seed, but the sunflower hearts, which are the inside of the sunflower seed, are even easier for some smaller birds to eat, like the goldfinches, or if you have chipping sparrows or something like that, those smaller birds, they can sometimes crack open that black oil sunflower. Sometimes it's more difficult for them. So having the shelled seed can attract even more of those birds. So you can go with just the plain sunflower hearts as well. So that's what a lot of people do. If they want something without shells on it, they want something that the birds will eat every little morsel of it, you can go with these sunflower hearts. And they're more expensive than the black oil sunflower seed, but by volume, you're getting way more food. So this is really nice. If there's only one type of food you're going to feed the birds that's shellless and you don't want to blend, the sunflower hearts would be the way to go, because all the birds love that sunflower seed. And if you're looking for something to kind of add to that, or a little something extra to give the birds, definitely want to go with peanuts. So lots of birds like peanuts. Of course, blue jays love peanuts and woodpeckers love the peanuts. But even the smaller birds like chickadees and titmice, they absolutely love these peanut pieces. Nuthatches, both the white-breasted and red-breasted nuthatches, they will both eat these peanut pieces as well. So you'd be surprised sometimes by adding some peanuts what you might get as far as diversity-wise coming to your feeder. So peanuts are very good all times of the year. Even if the peanut pieces seem too big for the birds, they'll peck away at the little peanut, and bit by bit they'll eat it. If you ever watch chickadees or titmice come to the feeder, they'll grab the little peanut, they'll take it away with them, and then they pin it between their feet and then just peck away at it. So a lot of birds will do that if the piece is too big for them to eat whole. Now, if you're getting lots of blackbirds still, as we're getting later into the summer months, the grackles will start going back down south, but you might get a flock of them coming to your feeders again. Some people have been getting them all summer long. So what you can do to keep the blackbirds away is feed the safflower seed. And the safflower seed will go into any kind of a mixed seed feeder. So anything you have your sunflower seed in is perfect for the safflower. And the grackles don't like it. The starlings don't eat it either. So starlings who are here all year round, if you have issues with them coming to your feeder, you can feed the safflower seed and they won't eat that. And then also red-winged blackbirds. But most people do like the red-winged blackbirds at their feeders. It's more the grackles that can kind of be pushy and push away the other birds, and that can kind of sometimes turn people off, but they really don't like that safflower seed. So the key to making the safflower seed work, though, is you want to make sure that you feed just the safflower seed. If you mix it with some other seeds, so say you mix it with some sunflower seed, the grackles will just throw the safflower on the ground and they'll pick out the pieces that they want. So if you've got a feeder or feeders that you want to keep the grackles out of, make sure it's just filled with just the safflower seed, not a mix. So that is a tip there. And finches, people are reporting lots of finches, goldfinches and house finches, and they eat Niger seed. They also will eat the sunflower hearts. And we have a blend called Finch Favorite that they absolutely love. And that's a mix of the Niger seed and ground up sunflower hearts. The only issue that some people have with this is they eat it so quickly that they have to refill their feeders often. So actually we had a customer yesterday who said that they're eating the Finch Favorite so quickly because they love those ground up sunflower hearts that are in there. She's diluting it with some Niger seed. So it's a mix of the Finch Favorite and the Niger seed. So if you're looking to attract the goldfinches, I would go with the Finch Favorite because they really do love that extra ground up sunflower seed that's in there. Those are really nice. Now, if you've got sparrows coming to your finch feeder, that's another issue people have been talking about over the last few weeks. Especially, there are feeders that will help keep the sparrows away as far as Niger feeders go. This is called a bottoms up or an upside down finch feeder. And we've talked about this one before. And what's different about this is that the feeding perches are above, or the perches are above the feeding ports. So if you look where the perches are, the feeding port is actually below that. So in order to feed from this, the finch has to tip over upside down. And the goldfinches can do that, chickadees can do that, but birds like sparrows find that difficult to do. So this is one way you can still get your goldfinches and you can keep sparrows at bay. So it can take the finches a little bit of time to get used to doing that and for them to learn how to do it. But once they learn how to do it, they'll easily come to it quite often. So we have a lot of customers that will do that bottoms up or upside down Niger feeder. And if you are going away, so you're going away on vacation and you want to keep your birds fed, but you don't have somebody that can fill your feeders, I would try the seed logs like this. The bugs, nuts, and fruit is a huge hit with people's birds, especially if you have bluebirds coming to your yard. They love this bugs, nuts, and fruit blend. This is really, really good. And it goes on a very simple feeder, just something like this. This is 2 little perches, and there's a rod here. These seed logs, I don't know if you can see it there. There's a hole that's drilled in the center of them. So they just set on the center rod there. And then the birds will perch on these perches and peck away at the seeds on the log. And what's nice about this is because they're all stuck together, the birds take longer to go through these. So if you're thinking of birds at your feeders, they tend to grab a seed and then fly away with it. With these logs, they'll peck away at the log and pull out what they want. And so whereas with my feeders, I'm filling them every day, these I replace depending on the type, maybe once a week or more if I get the bigger versions of the logs. This is the smaller one. So that's something to think about. And if you're looking for a blend that all the birds will eat, I would absolutely go with this bugs, nuts, and fruit blend. There's something in here, again, just like the chickadee mix and that woodpecker mix, there's something in here for any kind of bird that's going to come to a feeder. It's got those peanut pickouts in there. It has the shelled sunflower, and even better, it also has freeze-dried mealworms, which a lot of birds are eating right now too. And if you have a log feeder, but it's not in a place where the squirrels are able to, where it's not squirrel proofed, I guess I should say, and the squirrels are getting to it, we have one called Flaming Hot Feast, and this has hot sauce mixed into it, and the squirrels won't eat it. So it's got kind of a funny picture there of a squirrel or a chipmunk holding its cheeks with smoke coming out of its ears. But the idea behind this is that the squirrels can absolutely taste that hot sauce, but birds, because they don't have as many taste buds, they can't taste that hot sauce. So one really good way to keep the squirrels out and to still feed the birds. And you'll find that if you have your feeders in a place where squirrels can access them, switching to something like this that they won't eat can make a really huge impact as far as how much seed you're going through. It'll really decrease the amount of seed you're going through, so you can save more that way. And you can also do safflower logs. So I was talking about how birds like grackles don't like safflower. We have those in the logs as well, so you can put those on that log feeder. And squirrels don't really like the logs that much, or the safflower either. So every once in a while, I'll get a squirrel eating the safflower, but in general, they really don't like it. So apparently it has more of a bitter taste. And this is a good way to feed birds and keep the squirrels away. Not all the birds like safflower as much as they do, say, sunflower seed or the bugs, nuts, and fruit blend. It's the favorite of cardinals. Cardinals absolutely love the safflower. My house finches, every time I've got my safflower log out there, I get so many house finches coming. So there are birds that really do like it. The chickadees love it. They get nuthatches, woodpeckers on it. So it'll still give you a pretty good diversity of birds. And I was talking about mealworms, and right now lots of birds are eating the mealworms. In general, in the summer, a lot of birds will switch their diet from that of seeds and berries to mostly insects. There's some birds that don't, like goldfinches, for example, but a lot of birds will switch to a diet almost entirely of insects. And you can attract them by putting out mealworms. So we've got freeze-dried mealworms. We now have them in larger bags as well. If you go through a lot of freeze-dried mealworms, we do have some pretty big bags of them. We also have the live mealworms, which are in a little container here. The birds, they do prefer the live mealworms, but if you feed the freeze-dried, you can add a little bit of water or even olive oil, I've heard, to them, and they'll absorb that, and it just makes them look a little bit more alive, and the birds will eat those as well. So that's another way you can feed some more birds this summer, especially if you've got bluebirds around. The wrens really like this. Any kind of birds that are feeding their young right now will go towards the mealworms, except for those goldfinches. So if you've got, young chickadees, if you've got young titmice, any kind of birds like that, they'll absolutely go for the mealworms. And suet, lots of birds are still eating suet. Suet are these blocks of fat. I've been going through almost one of these a day in my backyard, which is pretty crazy. All the birds are eating them. We do have hot pepper suet to keep the squirrels away. Again, another hot pepper item. This is fabulous for woodpeckers. So if you've got the downy woodpeckers, if you've got red-bellied woodpeckers, pileated woodpeckers, one of our customers right now is a red-headed woodpecker, which is really, really exciting. They're pretty rare. They will all go to those suet cakes. And I've also been getting nuthatches coming to them, chickadees, and even the sparrows are eating the suet. So they're all really liking it. So if you are going through a lot of suet, you can also get larger suet cakes as well. So whereas the smaller suet cake, the suet cakes are about 11, 12 ounces, depending on the flavor that you get. These are more like 2 or 3 pounds. So you can get some bigger pieces of suet, and there are suet feeders these will go into, and this will make your suet last longer. So that's just one other thing that you can do. And hummingbirds are around. People are reporting them here and there, not in the numbers that they used to be reported in. It doesn't seem to be a strong year for the hummingbirds again, but they will drink the nectar. So we've got the ready to use nectar. We've got concentrates that you can add water to, and you can make your own nectar as well at home using sugar and water. And the recipe is 1 part sugar, just white granulated sugar, to 4 parts water. So you want to make sure to boil the water, add the sugar, let it cool, and then you can put it in your feeders. And you can keep the nectar fresh longer with something like this. This is called Feeder Fresh Nectar Defender, and you add just a little bit of this to your nectar, and it'll keep it fresh for more like a week or 10 days, as opposed to just 2 to 4 days if you have just the nectar out by itself. So it's one way to keep your nectar fresh longer. People are still reporting some oriole activity coming to their feeders, so putting out the jelly is great. The mealworms are what a lot of people are saying they're coming to now, more so than the jelly, but it's kind of a mixed bag. People are buying jelly still by the case from us because they have so many orioles and they have so many catbirds, but they'll also eat these mealworms as well. So that's something else you can put out to feed those orioles. And although it's not a food item, another thing you can do is put out these nesting balls for the goldfinches, because they do nest so late in the season. People are reporting the goldfinches going through these nesting balls like crazy. I know I've been seeing them in my yard just with beakfuls of this nesting material, which is pretty fun to see. And as far as a couple of feeders that have been popular for the suet, the paddle tail feeder is always super popular. This is our best seller. The suet cake goes in here. The woodpeckers will fly in and they'll grasp onto the little cage here, and then tail prop to support their tail so they're upright. If you've ever had larger birds like pileated woodpeckers or even the red-bellied woodpeckers and flickers on your suet cage and it's just the cage, you might find they kind of flop around on it. This will help them from doing that. It'll keep them from doing that because it'll give them some support there for their tail. We also have one that's twice as big for the pileated woodpeckers. If you're lucky enough to be getting those with any kind of regularity, you might want to go with that. And if you've got the starlings, again, the starlings or the grackles or the sparrows raiding your suet feeder, just like there's that upside down finch feeder, there's also an upside down suet feeder. And the suet goes into the top here. And on the bottom is where they feed from. So the bottom is open and that's where they feed. So in order to feed from it, they have to cling to the bottom. And if you've ever watched woodpeckers, you know they can cling really easily to different surfaces. So they'll fly in and fly up and cling onto the bottom here and feed. So they can do that. The nuthatches can do it. Chickadees can do it. But the starlings and the sparrows, the grackles, those kind of birds have difficulty doing that. because the food isn't super visible with this, it can take them a little bit of time to get used to it and to find it. So what I would suggest with this, if you're going to try this, is to put this where your suet feeder already is. So they're used to coming to that suet feeder. If you put this in the same spot, that'll help them find it faster. And if you haven't been having good luck with the hummingbirds this season, like me, I have put out now my humbug feeder because I haven't been getting the hummingbirds coming to my nectar feeders. So usually I put my nectar feeders out early in the season and I get some activity, and then it kind of fizzles off as the plants that I've planted for the hummingbirds are all in bloom. So then usually around this time of the year or even earlier, it's been out for a while now, I put out my humbug feeder. And this is what's called a protein feeder. And the idea here is the top opens and inside you put some fruit. They suggest a banana peel, but really anything that'll attract fruit flies. You know, if you've got the tops from strawberries, or if you've got some, cherries or some blueberries that are, starting to go, you can throw those in here. Really anything that attracts the fruit flies, which is quite a bit. You can put those in here. The fruit flies will be attracted to that fruit. They'll lay their eggs on the fruit, and then you'll have more and more fruit flies, and they will start to kind of crawl all around the top of the feeder. The color red brings in the hummingbirds, and they'll pick off the fruit flies from the feeder. So something a little bit different, but what I like about it is that it's really low maintenance. So if you're not having much luck with getting hummingbirds coming to your nectar feeders, that's something a little different that you can put out and still have something to feed them, but not have to go through the motions of changing the nectar out super often. And then, of course, if you are doing some birding and you want to know what kind of birds you're seeing, this Birds of New York book is awesome. If you're looking for a field guide, I highly suggest this one, especially if you are kind of new to birding. All of the birds in here are organized by color. So if you see something that's black and white, you go to the little black and white tabs to see all the different types of birds you could have. This is now in its 3rd edition, so this might look a little bit different than the one that you have now. If you have one of the earlier editions, this new edition has some additional species in it, and it has updated range maps because the birds do change their range slightly here and there. So this is the newest edition here that came out last year. And one of my favorite things that we just got in maybe a week or two ago, and I've showed them off at least once before, we got in these really neat little bracelets, and these are fun. They make really, really good gifts. What they are just a little beaded bracelet, and you can get them that a bracelet that coincides with a different animal. So there's polar bears, there's turtles, there's sharks, there's penguins, and there's elephants. And if you've got a turtle bracelet, it's got the little turtle stone on there. But what's neat about these is that inside there's a QR code. You open up the package and you can scan that QR code, and it coincides with a certain animal that has a tracker on it that's been tagged one way or another. And with that tracker, you can see if it's a sea turtle, for example. Every time it goes up to get water or resurfaces or gets close to the surface, it'll ping its little tracker. And with the app, you scan your QR code and it'll bring up an app. You can track all of the places that your animal has been. So we've got sea turtles, we've got polar bears, and we do have these all in different colors as well. There's penguins, and there's a little penguin bead on it there. There's elephants. And with the elephants, they have the trackers on a delay. So say if you just saw a new ping, it's from at least 2 or 3 weeks ago. So that way poachers can't track the elephants either. So they're protecting the elephants in that way. And then there's also sharks. So let's see, for example, if we open up the little shark bracelet, so it shows you how it works. It comes with, it says, open your phone camera and scan the QR code inside. So there's that. So there's a little card inside, and let's see what animal is in here. So say I'm opening the shark one here. They said there's about 20 different animals per per grouping. So say if you bought a shark bracelet, there's about 20 different sharks you could get. Same with the elephants. If you buy an elephant bracelet, you could have one of 20 different animals. And if you happen to buy a few and you get the same animal, you can just call their customer service and they will give you a new animal to track. So I just open up mine here and it says meet Boo. And here's Boo. And Boo is a female great hammerhead shark. So now I can track Boo with this little QR code here. I scan this with my phone and it'll show me where Boo has been over since having its tracker in. So I thought these were really cool. And the proceeds for these do go to different conservation efforts. The company does donate to different conservation efforts as well. So they make really good gifts for not only adults, but kids too. So these are brand new. We just picked these up at the store. So I thought I'd share those with you because they are quite a bit of fun. So that's everything I have for you guys today. We'll be back on Saturday. We're giving you an update about different birds people are seeing. We'll be sharing your photos, and we will be back then. So we'll be back on Saturday at 10 a.m. And until then, have a great week, and we will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.